Hey, comrades, what's up? We're here to talk about the X-Men. Excellent. We're going to talk about the Morlocks, and we're going to get into Rogues. This is kind of like a mini Morlock arc, just kind of clearing out some stuff. So, we pick up with Uncanny X-Men number 169, and we were with Candy Southern. She's in Angel's like Manhattan apartment, and she's coming home and is like, do. She finds some feathers on the ground, is like, oh shit. And so then she runs to call Professor X to ask for some help, and right as she's asking for help, she hears footsteps and sees dun 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 somebody who calls himself Sunder, who's there to hurt her. Dun dun dun. Meanwhile, Kurt is getting freaky with his girlfriend, lover Amanda Sefton. They're about to like bang it out in a hot tub in her apartment, or I guess she has a jacuzzi tub, when Nightcrawler gets the summons to help Candy Southern. So he heads out, he searches around, he finds Candy ready. She's like crashing out of the apartment, grabs her, takes her back to Amanda, and they drop into the jacuzzi. Meanwhile, over at the Hellfire Club, Shaw, what's his first name? Sebastian Shaw heads into like his secret underground chamber where Teresa is like, something's wrong, and she brings him down to the basement where the White Queen is like passed the fuck out, and she's physically fine, but something is amiss with her mentally. And they talk about how the only one powerful enough to do anything would be Charles, but that he clearly wouldn't do such a thing. Back at the X Mansion, Amanda has helped, back at Nightcrawler, or Amanda's apartment, Candy has recovered thanks to the help of Amanda. And so Nightcrawler's a little chilly because he was out and about in the cold winter air and soaking wet. And Storm and Colossus and Kitty are there as well. We find out that Wolverine is in Japan, which we'll get to in a couple weeks when we do the Wolverine arc, the first Wolverine arc. But for now, it's just these four X-Men, and they talk to Candy about what happened, about Sunder. Amanda and Lockheed stay home to watch over Candy, make sure she doesn't get accousted again. Well, the rest of the X-Men use like a mini Cerebro to head underground and search for Warren. While they're down there, they get accousted by some homeless bums. Good stuff. They fight. Kitty gets sent to do like a little investigation, and she finds Sunder with some other mutants, Claire mutants, including Callisto and this old woman Plague, and fourth one. I can't remember his name off the top of my head. Anyway, she's watching them, thinking about it, and then Callisto gets a scent. Plague goes and touches her, and then Sunder tries to bash the wall after her, but she's using her like, her like going through wall powers. Meanwhile, the rest of the X-Men are beating up the homeless people. They beat them up. They keep searching around. Callisto's not concerned about Kitty warning the X-Men because she's about to fucking die because Plague got her. And as Kitty finally comes out of a wall, and she's like sick, and like she's about to pass out and fall into like the sewer water when she's saved by Caliban, her old friend Caliban, who's deeply in love with her. Meanwhile, the rest of the X-Men, they pop up. They find Angel. He's like strapped to this throne, and some of his wings have been like messed with, so he can't fly. And there's Callisto. We get to meet Callisto. She's the leader of the Morlocks. The Morlocks are named after H.G. Wells' book about the underground people, and so they start to fight to rescue Angel. Meanwhile, Kitty wakes up. She's still sick as shit, and Caliban's trying to help her, and she's got like this sexy little nightie on, but Caliban can't help her. Dun dun dun. That leads us into issue number 170, where the battle continues. First of all, we head up to Alaska, where Scott and Madeline are getting close, and they're flirting and dancing and talking, and then Scott feels really bad, and so he's like, hey, I got something to tell you. This is my old girlfriend. And it's a picture of Jean Grey, who looks exactly like Madeline Pryor. Madeline's like, I need a moment. And Cyclops is like, yep, I know. Anyway, she comes back, and she's willing to give it a shot, and her one question is, do you love me or do you love this girl? Because you love me because I look like this girl. And Scott's like, I don't know, but I'm willing to find out. And she's like, fair enough, let's give it a shot. Back in the Morlock tunnel, the X-Men have been captured. Oh no. They're all chained up and whatnot, and apparently Angel, who's still knocked out, Callisto's going to marry him because he's so beautiful. And the X-Men are like, we don't think so. So they bust out. Nightcrawler grabs Callisto. Colossus smashes Sunder. Storm, let's see. Storm's like calling him out, and then she gets touched by Plague. Oh no, she's in trouble. So they got like a whole standoff thing going because Nightcrawler is threatening Callisto, but he never kill him. X-Men don't kill. Anyway, so he comes back. They essentially give up. They get tied up again. Meanwhile, Caliban is working with Kitty. She promises him that she'll be with him if he can like save the X-Men or whatever, or do something to, whatever to protect them. And he's like, no, I must help. Oh no, what should I do? I can't defy Callisto, but yada yada. And we get some more information that Callisto found this like bunker system that they're in currently, and that she's been using it to like gather mutants who look all fucked up to have like a home. And the Caliban's been helping because he can sense mutants and whatnot. Elsewhere, Mystique's having this crazy dream with Jason Wynegard and Phoenix in it. She wakes up, her girlfriend, Destiny, who's a precog, has like made her coffee, and then she's like, Rogue's gone. And then Mystique storms around, like, what the fuck? And we see that Rogue had some sort of crazy thing going on, and she is traveling on a bus somewhere. Back in the Morlock tunnels, we get like Face Guy. Does it say his name here? Mask, that's his name. He's like messing with Storm's face. He's like, oh, you have a beautiful face. I can adjust anything except my own face. And he's about to get Nightcrawler, but then Callisto's like, I like the cut of your jib. And also you look like a freak like us. And Nightcrawler goes on his whole speech about being accepted and doing the right thing and friendship's magic and all that good stuff. When Caliban shows up with Kitty. And at that point, Nightcrawler and Colossus just break through the bonds again. And then Caliban's like, there's nothing you can do. Plague won't heal you unless you can get the leadership from Callisto. And you got to do that by fighting to the death. And Nightcrawler's like, done, I will fight you to the death. And then Storm's like, no, I'm the leader of the X-Men. I'll do it. And she's still all plagued up a little bit. And so there's some concern. And then we have this badass scene where Callisto like tosses Storm a knife, and Storm like catches it in the air and is like ready to go. And Callisto's like, the fuck? And even Nightcrawler and Colossus are like, what? Anyway, they fight. They stab. Storm gets stabbed up a little bit, but eventually she stabs fucking Callisto right in the heart and like fucking kills her. Not quite, because the healer runs up and heals her, but then she goes up, takes Angel. She's now the leader of Morlock. She orders them to stand down and let them take Angel out of there, and that they're not going to do any damage or harm, and that Callisto, we find out Callisto is going to be out of cahoots for a little bit of time. Back up in Alaska, Cyclops wakes up in the morning with Madeline laying on top of him. Don't worry, there's no segs. But what there is that Callisto, or Madeline's like, oh, let me take these glasses off you, silly boy. And he like freaks out, and she's like, why are you freaking out? You hit my hand away, you asshole. And he's like, I got something to show you. And he pulls out a coin and zaps it with his like eye laser. And he's like, I'm a mutant, something. And she's like, well, thank you for trusting me. I can see why you were so reticent to do that, because mutants are like hunted at this point. But I don't mind. I want you to stay. Yeah, big boy. We take a little divergence away from the X-Men generally over to the New Mutants. They have a little adventure that I guess doesn't go anywhere else. Stevie is getting harassed by some phone calls. Sean's very concerned. She's like, hey, maybe you should call the police. And Stevie's like, yeah, I called the police, but they're not going to do anything with just a phone call. It's not a real threat, yada, yada, yada. Anyways, Sean's like very concerned. Back over at the X Manor, the kids are playing Frisbee and they're doing all sorts of stuff when they get summoned by Professor X. When everyone gets there, he starts talking. He's like apologizing for like the whole Brood thing and talking about making amends, and that, you know, the Brood was guiding him to like gather the New Mutants so that he could turn them into like queens, but that he thinks it's still a good idea for them to be here, so they're welcome to stay if they would like. Danny is like pushing hardcore against him, being like a real rebel without a cause kind of situation. Professor X understands that. And so he's trying to work with Leandra to kind of like give her space and not be too forceful with her. When Sean gets there, she talks about helping Danny out, and Professor X doesn't think it's a good idea, but he wants to allow them some freedom, so he does. And then him and Leandra talk about fucking. And then so the New Mutants are allowed to go help Stevie, but they have to put a plan together and implement it, and then he's going to back them up and help them out. So they do that. The professor helps Sunspot, what's his name, Roberto, put together some sort of like phone tracking device, and then they're going to wait for the call, track it where it is, have Rain go to where it's at, sniff it out, and they're going to track it down. So they implement the plan. They end up at like the school dance for local school, and inside there, Rain watches and like sniffs with Cannonball, and the rest of them go inside, and eventually she figures out that it's this Peter guy, and Peter is a dancer who hangs out, and he's like friends with Stevie, so why is he acting like such an asshole? You know, they call him out and he runs and like shoves Stevie, and so Rain breaks through the glass and chases after him, and Sean gets like stampeded on. It's like this crazy series of events. And then Cannonball is like chasing after the car that Peter like got into to race away, and Rain's chasing after her in like a werewolf form, and then this dude's about to like fucking hit this woman with her kid, and so Cannonball saves them, and he's able to like control his powers so much, which is very impressive because he's never been able to do that before. Anyway, Peter like crashes into this construction site, and this car's on fire, and and then it's like setting the whole place on fire, and Peter ran off, and so Rain's chasing him, and then Sunspot's gonna chase after, but then Sean's like, no, Bobby, you gotta go fucking stop the car from setting the whole place on fire, and Stevie like busts her leg up again because it's all injured and whatnot. Anyway, so Sunspot takes care of that. The rest of them run inside. Sunspot finds that the little shack that the car ran into is full of like TNT. It's like, holy shit. So he calls out to Professor X, who then tells everybody else, and Sean's like, we gotta get the fuck out of here right now. And so she possesses Peter, who's like trying to she's like hitting Rain with like a fucking stick, or he's hitting Rain. Cannibal comes in, grabs Rain. Sean runs out with possessed Peter, and they all end up back at like Stevie's apartment where they confront him. And they talk about like, well, we can get Professor X to find out what's going on, and he was like, no, you guys got to figure it out. And so Danny uses her powers to see that Peter's secretly in love with Stevie, and then also that his parents beat his ass. And then we have a whole conversation. It gets real dark here. By the way, I should have brought that up. It gets real dark. Like his parents beat his ass, and he is like mind fucked about the whole thing, because he's like, well, that's how parents show love, by treating you like shit. And then they're like, that's not how parents treat you. like what the fuck? And then he got mad at Stevie because he's in love, but he's got a secret crush on Stevie, and he always treated her so nice. And so he was like, I need to be punished because I'm a bad boy, and like there's no way you would really like me unless you treated me like shit, so I had to make you treat me like shit to show that you loved me. And it's like, holy fuck. What the fuck? Anyway, so then it gets all wrapped up with a nice little like 90s sitcom bow where Peter goes to jail, but then he's going to get like help and get put in the foster system, and the Professor X is going to make sure it doesn't end up with like a rapist. and stuff like that, and that he'll be okay and he'll recover from all this, hopefully, with some, mental manipulation and therapy and whatnot. And the kids are like, geez, that's wild, that's some dark shit. And he's like, yeah, it's some dark shit. And I was like, oh yeah, New Mutants is dark as shit. I totally forgot about that. Anyway, back to more fun stuff. It's like an actual superhero book. Uncanny X-Men number 171. We have Storm back in the Morlock tunnels, looking bad as hell, telling them they're all welcome to come up to live with Professor X, but that if they want to stay here, which they all want to stay here in this area, they're going to stop robbing from the poor, and they're going to stop kidnapping people, and we're going to find some way to like coexist, and everything's going to be good. On her way out, after her declarations, Callisto's like, I'm going to get better, I'm going to fuck you up. And then Storm's like, shut the fuck up, you're sick as hell. So she picks her up, hands her off to Sunder, and is like, can you please take care of this? Like, she should not be out of bed, because I literally stabbed her in the heart. Nightcrawler who's with her, reflects on the changes Storm is having, and we spend a lot of time in this issue, like with Storm reflecting on who she is. Is she a leader? Like, what's being in the X-Men done to her and whatnot? Meanwhile, back in Alaska, Madeline's having some crazy fire dreams or whatnot, so Cyclops like runs into her room because they're still not having sex. Good for them. And they're hugging and talking, and then she reveals that she was the only survivor of some plane explosion, and that she has some like PTSD from that. And she says the date, and it's the same date that Jean Grey died from, like the fucking rocket collapse, when she lost, when the Phoenix and they saved the fucking when she like died. Oh no, that was before then. It's when Dark Phoenix, when she got killed on the moon. It was the same day. Same day happened. Anyway, meanwhile, over to Carol the Danvers home in Beverly, Massachusetts, which I've been to and is delightful. Carol's like saying goodbye to her parents. They're like concerned because she seems like something's off, and she's like, no, everything's fine. I'm a superhero shit. And her mom's like, well, be safe. And then Carol gets like real sad, and this is a really good scene because it's really short, but it like packs its punch in. And she's like, Professor X helped me get all my memories back, but I don't have like an emotional connection to them. So like, I know those are my parents, and I know they love me, and I like understand that I should love them, but like I don't feel anything. And she's like, oh well, time to be binary and move on with my day. Meanwhile, over at the X Mansion, Ileana's like watching Katie Pryde like lose her mind because she hates the X babies / New Mutants because they stole stuff from her. And then Ileana's like, your shit's right there, dumbass. And she's like, I feel like such an asshole. And I was like, you are an asshole. Professor X is still working on getting his legs working because he's got a perfect clone body, and so his legs should work, but he's got the mental block. So him and his girlfriend are hanging out. She talks about playing doctor, and he's like, yeah, boy. That's not what happens. He gets like concerned, and she's like, no, like for real, play doctor. I don't mean like like have sex as a doctor. In the kitchen, Colossus is just trying to mind his own business and cook some bacon and eggs or something, when Rogue shows up. Oh shit, it's Rogue. She's like begging for help. She's like losing her mind because she's got two personalities inside her head. She's got Carol, and she's got what was her real name? What's Rogue's real name? I don't remember off the top of my head. Anyway, and Rogue's personality, and then all the X-Men are like, fuck you got what you deserve. And Professor X is like, I need you all to leave. I gotta figure this shit out. And your negative attitude is like harshing my vibe. So Storm's like, well, let's go practice in the danger room. And so they do, and Ileana starts a program, and it's Belasco. Oh no, with everyone dead and stuff. And the X-Men are like, the fuck? And then Katie's like, God damn it, Ileana, what are you doing? And so she turns it off, and then Ileana gets like red-eyed and pulls out her soul sword and attacks Kitty. And Kitty can't phase through the sword, but she's able to use her like Wolverine ninja magic to like beat her and grab the sword out of her hand, and that causes Ileana to get like her memory back and to like get control. And then they're hugging and they're crying, and all the rest of the X-Men roll up. Kitty tells them what happened, and then she's like, I got this, you guys go. So Storm heads back to her room, and she's like, she spends a lot of time just thinking about like all the shit that's going on and her anxiety and who she really is, if she's like an X-Men now, or like how she's changed as leader, and like how she tried to kill Callisto and how she felt like she had to do it to be a good leader, and is that who she really wants to be. And her Storm powers are like acting up because she's in a lot of anxiety, and she gets summoned by Professor X, and as he's like fading away, she throws like a dagger at his image and is like yelling because she's clearly got like a lot of interesting feelings. And then Ileana's like, Charles, you okay? And he's like, I think Storm's got some issues. She's anyway, so the X-Men all get summoned back, and he's like, Rogue is now enrolled in the school, and she's going to be an X-Men. And then Storm's like, no. And then Charles is like, pardon what? And she's like, I'm the leader of the X-Men. We can't fight with someone who's possibly going to betray us. And perfect timing, Binary shows back up, right? Because she's been like a member of the X-Men for a while. And she punches Rogue to the fucking moon. And then Rogue's like, comes back down. Which I don't know how she survived that, but okay. And then Binary like smacks the shit out of her again. And then Colossus grabs Binary, and then Charles is like, please stop. And so they argue a bit about that. And then Rogue's like, I don't know who the fuck you are. And then she transforms to Carol Danvers from her Binary form, and Rogue's like, oh. And then Storm and Nightcrawler are like, we do not accept Rogue, we're gonna leave, so we're gonna go with Carol. And he's like, all right. And then he gives like this speech about how like, you guys remember Wolverine? Remember that guy? How like everyone was super concerned, and Aurora, you said that deny him, and though we abhor his violent nature, is like it's like we got to give him a chance to like true potential, and like what's he gonna do and whatnot. And then Colossus and Kitty are like, all right, I accept. And then Nightcrawler's like, okay, fine, I accept too. And then Carol's like, all right, bitches, like I get you're trying to be understanding and forgiving and whatnot, but I cannot forgive her, so I'm out, and I don't have any connection to you because I have no emotions about anything, so adios. And then she takes off. And then everyone starts heading inside, and Storm's like, I need to think. And they're like, all right. So then she has like more inner dialogue about who she is, what she wants to be, what it means to accept Rogue, what it means to be the leader of the X-Men. And then she stares off at the manor as like the issue wraps up. And that's the end of like the little Morlock arc we get here. So go ahead, like, share, subscribe, comment, and I will catch you guys later. Bye.